Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Bhutang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda. Namo Amida Butsu. I recite Amida's name with deep joy and gratitude. I Gassho to Amida, trees and grasses and flowers all grow in great compassion. This light shines throughout the world. I Gassho to Amida. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the seed sprout new flowers. This is the truth unchanging. I Gassho to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in Nembutsu. I Gassho to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling me. Buddha's voice, my voice are one. I Gassho to Amida. When I'm lonely, I recite Namo Amida Butsu. Then I feel great compassion. I Gassho to Amida, Nembutsu in work and play, every day with Amida, every moment filled with light. I Gassho to Amida, remember the golden chain, kindness to all living things. I will follow this teaching. I Gassho to Amida, in the clear bright morning sun, in the fading light of day, in the darkness of the night. I Gassho to Amida, Namo Amida Butsu. I live in great compassion. This great power guides my life. I Gassho to Amida. Namandabu, 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 Namandabu. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Golden Chain of Love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning again. I'd like to share a few thoughts with you today about the Buddha's teaching. I think since we're still in this situation of the COVID-19 and we are kind of stuck at home, good time to reflect and to think. Not all of us, of course, are stuck at home, but we're kind of restricted, and I think we all have a lot more time to think. Some of us are more restricted than others, and can get kind of lonely. So it's a kind of a good time to reflect on our condition and think about the meaning of our life. And I think it's a good time to think about Buddhism too. Buddhism is a very, is of course why we are here, why we belong to a temple, or we come to the temple, and why you're interested in watching Buddhist videos and so on. So that's an important thing. And I thought maybe we would just talk a little bit about some of the Buddhist basic Buddhist teachings, which kind of don't get talked about enough, maybe taken for granted or something like that. But anyway, I'd like to share with you, just to start right at the beginning, and I want to talk about the Four Noble Truths. Maybe just not even the four, maybe just the beginning. Well, let's see how we go. But I'm gonna share with you some things from this book, Jewel. I'll put it on the screen so you can see better. And Jewel is a new book by Reverend Dr. Kenneth Tanaka. He's actually from California. He's a Hongwanji minister, but now he lives in Japan, and he teaches there at a university. And but he's well known for his book Ocean, which many of you are familiar with. It came out many years ago, and it's a very enjoyable book and very down to earth, and something that is very accessible, easy to understand. So this is a new book, and the subtitle of Jewels is An Introduction to American Buddhism for Youth, Scouts, and the Young at Heart. So now, actually, this is a very easy book to get, because although you can buy it, you can also download it in a PDF file, if you know what that is, easy to read on the computer. And it is from BDK America. So if you just go on the internet and do a search for BDK America, go to that website, and then go to the books or section, more books, I think it is, the link, and then you'll find a whole bunch of books that you can download for free. Of course, you can make a donation if you want. You can also order a hard copy of it, although I'm not sure they're in print yet. I'm not, I have to check on that. But anyway, one thing about Dr. Tanaka, about Ken Tanaka, is that he always has a very humorous approach. In fact, on the title page, not the title page, on the cover it says, with a bit of humor, with a bit of humor. So I think we'll have to have some of that humor. So let's start. Let's just talk a little bit. It's a short sermon today, but we just want to talk about the Four Noble Truths. So first, he talks about the Four Noble Truths and the greedy dog. We'll get to that. But most important thing, Four Noble Truths in Buddhism, because they are identifying the problem. So why do we have Buddhism? So we can have bon dance, or so we can have chow fun, or fundraisers, or all those things. Those are things we do that have become part of the culture of Buddhism, but that's not why we have Buddhism. Buddhism arose to answer the problem of life, which is suffering. The problem of suffering. Why is life full of suffering? And so the Four Noble Truths are expressed this way. First, there is suffering. Second, there is a cause of suffering. Third, there is a cure, a way of stopping suffering. So we might say suffering is somewhat optional. And then fourth, the fourth truth is that there is a path to attaining that cure, that cessation of suffering. Now, that's the usual way. So I'd like to read what Dr. Tanaka says, that he likes to restate these truths in a way that's easier to understand. So what does he say? He says, first truth, we all experience suffering, everybody. Second truth, the cause of suffering lies in our attachments, our wanting things. Sometimes things we can have, sometimes things we can't have, but we want things. Third truth, our suffering ceases when awakening is realized. That's what he says. Our suffering ceases when awakening is realized. And fourth truth, there is the eightfold noble path for realizing awakening. So there is a path to realize awakening which will allow us to overcome, or to have a cessation, a stopping of ceasing of suffering. And then there's no more suffering, right? It's hard to understand these things, though. So first of all, I will add that suffering, the word suffering, could be a little bit of a problem in the first place, because suffering is, if we just understand it as pain, discomfort, troubling things in life, we all have that, and you know what? Sorry, nothing is ever going to make that stop as long as we're alive, right? Life is suffering. We just have troubles, we have pain, we have aches and pains, we get old, right? We get sick and so on. That's suffering. The key is in the second truth about attachments. It's how we look at things. So the word in Sanskrit or Pali Sanskrit that is used in the original, what comes down to us as the original of the Buddha's Four Noble Truths is dukkha, and dukkha means more like disharmony, some kind of discomfort, anxiety, lack of harmony. So dukkha is often described as being like a wheel where the axle is not centered. So it makes a very bumpy ride, in the carriage, in the cart, or in the chariot. It's not smooth, it's bumpy, up and down, up and down, up and down, okay? That's the problem. And that's what dukkha really is. It's not that we do have pains, it's that we experience life as, I won, isn't it great? And then the next moment, it's like, but I won't be able to win again, so now I'm already depressed, right? We have good times, you're feeling good, but tomorrow you might be sick, right? It's hard. So if we start saying, well, gee, I'm healthy now, I have enough food now, but what about tomorrow? Already we have dukkha, we have suffering. Life is not a smooth ride. It's like, as far as I can go into the future, I can see everything's going to be fine, no problem. No, not like that at all. Everything's going to be constantly up and down, up and down. So if we get attached, we say, I must have everything pleasant and wonderful, we're going to have trouble. We're just going to have suffering. We're going to have dukkha. That's attachment. We're saying it must be a certain way, but it can't be a certain way. It's going to be whatever way causes and conditions make from moment to moment in our life. We cannot control that. That's number one truth. So Dr. Tanaka, he gives us a fable called The Greedy Dog. This is one of the Aesop's fables. And he says it's a great way to understand the Four Noble Truths. Once upon a time, a hungry old dog saw a puppy carrying a juicy bone in its mouth. Greedy for the puppy's treat, the old dog barked and growled until the poor puppy got scared, dropped the bone, and ran away. The old dog carried the juicy bone in its mouth and looked around to find a quiet place to eat it. On his way to finding a quiet place, he walked over a bridge. And as he looked over the side of the bridge, he saw another dog with a bone in its mouth. He's looking down into the water. He sees another dog with a bone in its mouth. Not realizing that the other dog he saw was actually himself reflected in the water, he became greedy for that other bone and barked at the other dog. As he barked, splash went his own bone as it fell into the river, leaving the dog with no bone, hungry once again. No doubt, this greedy dog was suffering. So, today I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the first truth, which is we all experience suffering, all experience dukkha, this disharmony, bumpy ride, okay? So the Buddha teaches that there are 8 kinds of suffering. Normally we talk about 3 poisons. You've probably heard that from, in church or Sunday school or something like that. Old age, sickness, and death. But actually, there are actually 8. So see, not good enough to just have 3 poisons, right? Life has to have 8 poisons. But interestingly, if you think about it, those 8 poisons, those 8 kinds of suffering correspond, not one to one, but they are kind of like the 8 spokes of the wheel of birth and death, whereas the eightfold path are the 8 spokes of the wheel of Dharma. So you have 2 wheels, right? The wheel of birth and death and the wheel of Dharma. And in a sense, and of course they're different, but in a deeper sense, they're also the same. I'll let you sort of, meditate on that. But let me tell you what these 8 kinds of suffering are. Birth, right? Because that starts it all. I mean, and actually, birth being born is a traumatic thing that, I don't remember it. You may not, you probably don't remember it either, but it's a traumatic thing. So birth, aging, getting old, that's number 2. We don't have to explain why that's suffering, why that's a type of suffering. 3, illness, again, another type of suffering. 4, death. Have birth, gotta have death. 5, meeting up with people in situations we don't like, encountering unpleasant, painful situations. 6, encountering or having to separate, from people in situations that we do like, happy times, pleasant times. They come to an end. 7, not getting what we want. That's the ultimate. We have that all the time. Things didn't go my way. How come? How come why me? Why didn't it go my way, right? And then finally, being attached to the 5 physical, psychological components that make up our existence. We'll get back to that in a minute, but I'm not going to read through everything Dr. Tanaka says. I hope you will get the book and read it. I just want to give you a few thoughts myself, okay? Birth, I already said, birth is traumatic. It's this beginning, a new existence. And it's also the beginning of all of the sufferings of life, right? And aging, again, if you think about it, aging is a painful thing, difficult thing, but when you consider the alternative, right? You're still living, right? And that's something we want. We want to live. So, just as much as we don't like to get old, we also think that we might also think that we're grateful to get old. It's wonderful to have more, to live and to have more life. Although sometimes that life is very painful as we get older. It's hard to decide, I don't want to live anymore. But sometimes people do because life becomes so painful. Illness, number 3. Illness is something we normally don't want, but it's not always bad. It's really a great teacher, Sometimes, many times, I have met people who have learned so much from serious illness, even cancer, even things that have brought their life to an end. But there was something transformative about that experience. They really finally began to realize what life is about. When you encounter the fact that it isn't permanent, we're suddenly transformed in our appreciation for each moment of living. There's much to say about this, but I'm not going to say too much right now. Number 5, having to meet with people in situations we don't like. Everybody knows that. We spend half our life or more having to do things. Who wants to get up in the morning and go to work all the time? Who wants to go? Sometimes it's having to go to a meeting, having to go to a gathering that you really don't want to go to. So many things. Having to separate from things that are happy events. I don't have to explain that, right? We attach ourselves to that. It's so wonderful, That's why we're nostalgic. We think back on the past. Not getting what we want, of course. Not getting what we want. All of life is full of that. And then being attached to the 5 physical, psychological components that make up our existence. These are usually called aggregates, although nobody uses that word other than in these kind of philosophical things. But they are very simple. It's not complicated. It's just we have body and our senses, right? We have our feelings, right? We can easily get attached to our body and our senses, which are all connected with memories and with experiences. Our feelings are another layer of experience and attachment, I felt so good at that time, or I felt so angry, I felt so bad. Number 3, our thoughts, our rational, our analytical understanding of what's happening and our memories about what happened. Our intentions, what we want to do, our goals, what we are planning to do, or what we mean to come out of it. And then 5, our consciousness, kind of a deeper awareness. That's, so a way of kind of experiencing. Actually, let me read what what Reverend Tanaka says here. He says, for example, when the greedy dog saw and smelled the juicy bone through his senses, that's number one of the 5 aggregates, 5 functions, his senses of sight and smell, it was followed by pleasant feelings about the bone. Oh, great, I'd love to have that bone. Oh, it's so nice. Which generated a desire for it. This desire, attachment. This feeling then led to his thoughts. How can I get this bone? How can I, overpower the puppy and get this bone? And take this bone away. And then he raised the intention. I'm gonna get that bone away from that other puppy. Finally, the 5th function, consciousness, Dr. Tanaka says, includes the decision he made to take the bone away based on his awareness of the previous 4 functions. Now, I'm going to leave us here for now, for today, and next week's online service, I will talk about the next truth, the cause of suffering. It's very important. We'll kind of work our way through, but if for now, think about these things. Think about, let me read them back to you one more time to think about these things. There's 8 kinds of suffering, right? What does that mean in our life? Start to think about the way life is either satisfying or acceptable, fulfilling or not fulfilling in your life. This is what Buddhism is helping to address. How do we deal with this? How do we awaken to something beyond this dukkha, this disharmonious life? So birth, old age, aging, illness, death, meeting, encountering situations, people we don't like, having to separate from situations, people that we like, pleasant, wonderful things, right? Number 7, not getting what we want. And number 8, being attached to those 5 psychological, physical functions or attributes: body and senses, feelings, thoughts, intentions, and consciousness. So really interesting, right? So thank you very much, and let us close our Dharma thoughts today with the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May I be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to me. May I live in peace and harmony. May my family be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my teachers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my friends be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May strangers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my enemies be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony.